Yeah.
The first two, when everybody was all in, I got those.
You don't get it.
We are in.
May I?
Yes,
You got it?
yes.
We're live?
Yes.
May I?
Yeah.
Joe, can I call this meeting to order?
No, we're busy.
Yeah, I know. Can you give us 10 minutes? Sorry to interrupt this. Discussion. They pay me to do this, Joe. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Broome County Industrial Development Agency of October 16th, 2024. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of our September 16th, 2024 board meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a second? Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving onward to our public comment session. Anybody wishing to speak on any matter concerning the IDA, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments, if you will, to 5 minutes. Nobody online there, which is to talk. We'll call this public comment session to a close. Executive Director's Report. Stacy, provide us some updates, please.
Very briefly, we've issued the RFQ for engineering and design services for 600 Main. That is out currently and due, I believe, at the end of the month. In which case we will be shortlisting firms for that. That is for the build out of the 600 Main Street site in the town of Union. As you recall, we have available to us $11 million from the New York State FAST program. We're working with EBR as project manager on that. So more to come, most likely at our November meeting. So that's ongoing. I attended the Battery Show in Detroit, October 7th through 9th. Had a number of very good conversations, a lot on 600 Main. Where I have a few follow-up meetings scheduled for October 23rd and 24th, when New York Best is hosting a conference here in Binghamton. A number of those companies will be in town, so more to come, but some good connections there. I have been asked alongside with Dr. Bill Mullaney, who is president of SUNY Corning Community College, to serve as co-chair of the Southern Tier Region's On-Ramp Application Initiative. On-Ramp is a very long acronym that I can't recall at the moment, but it is connected to ultimately what will be the development of a regional workforce training facility, most likely connected to advanced manufacturing, specifically in companies in transportation and those moving towards electrification. We have until December 2nd to put together an application for On-Ramp, utilizing and essentially leveraging resources from our higher education, our workforce partners, and wraparound services, with a vision to construct a regional facility somewhere in the region. Certainly, we would like to think that would be in the greater Binghamton area. So more to come on that. If awarded, we would receive a $300,000 planning grant, which would make us eligible for $40 million, $20 million in capital costs, and $20 million in operational costs. There are 6 regions in the state that are eligible to compete for this funding. 3 will be selected. We certainly think leveraging existing state investment, things like New Energy New York and the tech hub at the federal level will give us a competitive advantage, but we still need to put forth a good application. So more to come on that. And lastly, we're wrapping up our Southern Tier Clean Tech Corridor Initiative with Newmark. That is the 8-county IDA funded initiative to identify market opportunities in clean tech manufacturing. They're currently doing site analysis and rankings. We have put forth a number of sites, including 600 Main Street, our proposed tech park, the Huron campus, just to name a few. They expect that to be done in a peer review assessment by the middle of November, and we're planning a presentation for the board and other key stakeholders in early December on that. So more to come on that. And just a note on financials, you have both through August 31st, because if you recall, last month you got only through August 23rd. That was just due to timing of some staffing with some maternity leave. And you also have through September 30th. So you have two sets of financials I wanted to note in your packet.
Stacey, I had a question.
Sure.
Your attendance at the battery thing, that kind of triggers this question. And I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't have an answer, but, how are we doing here locally with battery manufacturing? I understand that, is it IB3 or is that what they're called, IB3?
Right.
Announced another round of layoffs. I don't know what else is out there. Do you have any idea how we're doing with that?
So a lot of the activity we're seeing in the region related to battery activity is less about the actual cell manufacturing. There is a company further west in Jamestown, Electrovia, who was at the show with us, as was IM3. My understanding with IM3, and we have no benefit for that project as at this point in time, is still seeking solid investors. I think our growth is going to be in the area of companies that are making components for things like battery storage systems. We have a company here in Binghamton that's looking at some sizable growth. They make the framing for large scale battery energy storage systems. So I think it might be, at least in the initial, more on the supply chain side. I think cell manufacturing is complicated and expensive, but I'm certainly no expert in that.
I mean, given
regard.
all the research that takes place here, are we actively promoting this area as the center of all things battery?
I think that was one of the goals with the Southern Tier Clean Tech. I hope, those recommendations for how to position ourselves more aggressively, actually, in that same
I think it
regard.
really should be.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see their final recommendations, and then that'll also align with site development as we understand what types of companies we should be targeting, because they'll align with what our site can offer. So better match of
Right. Yeah.
site to company profile.
Yeah,
So,
And the other thing is, with regard to the on-ramp application, I know I had emailed you about that and asking about, there are other organizations in the area that are working on
Yeah.
training for advanced manufacturing, actually more than I realized.
Yeah.
And you had made assurances that they would be involved in this. If I would recommend that you involve them in the application.
Absolutely.
Make it very clear to the funders that this is a coordinated effort from all of these organizations that work in that area. Do you envision, you said a center, you mean like a physical space?
This is essentially coming down from the state. So they have two identified flagships, which is one that will ultimately be constructed in the Syracuse area I'm guessing to support Micron. And one that is existing that's being used somewhat as a model, which is called Northland Training Center in the east side of the city of Buffalo. So a more distressed area that has really been rejuvenated because of this old factory building that's been renovated to house. It's not just about the training. So they have the traditional manufacturing training plus like manufacturing 4.0, the robotics, the high tech. But they also have wraparound services, and that's going to be a key component is how do we get people to this facility? How do we set up financial aid for them so that they can train maybe, and all of those things need to come into it. So it's kind of taking, I think, the best of what the region's doing and putting it all in a center. It is essentially what we're supposed to come up with.
Yeah, do you have buy-in from these other, like from Tioga Workforce Development?
We just started meeting with the core steering committee, which ESD put together, not us. And we have a series basically over the next 6-ish weeks. We'll be meeting weekly. So that's a core group, is all the workforce investment boards from across the region will be the next. I think we're targeting the 25th to meet with them and get their feedback. And then ultimately the draft will go out to all those key stakeholders.
Yeah. And maybe it's too soon to answer this, but do you envision having these other organizations that do this, having a physical presence at this new place?
I think they'd have to, maybe not permanent, maybe one concept that we've seen is just sort of office suites. So you can be on site and have, working hours where you're providing service as sort of a satellite. I mean, I think we're just starting to craft what that could look like, so.
Do we still have a big demand for those skills here locally?
Yeah, that's our next meeting this Friday. We're meeting with a core group of industry from across the region to identify what the on-demand skills, so we know we're training to the right things. So, yeah, so the on-demand skills, which are probably things like welding, CNC machining, metrology, just affirming that whatever we put in there is what they need us to train to. So that'll be a key voice.
Elaine, what was the reason given for the layoffs, did they say?
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know there's
I
been
just heard it
continuous
through word.
layoffs.
I heard it through word of mouth. And I don't think it was in the news, yeah.
Interesting.
What are their batteries going for? Were they?
I know, are they actually manufacturing? I don't think they are.
I thought they were.
Are they?
I don't believe it. If so,
I don't think they're
not
manufacturing anything at this point.
They were making batteries, they just.
at a very high
couldn't
volume.
Officially sell them because they hadn't received the certifications they needed, but they've recently gotten certifications. The problem for them is their financing, their Australian partner. It's more complicated than that. I don't wanna take up too much of your time.
Well, it's good info.
But I talked.
You should join the board.
Yeah.
No, thanks for the info. No, it's good update.
It's not dead. But it doesn't look good. They all. They must
Not
have.
dead, but they got paddled.
Yeah. Again, keep patient.
Any additional questions for Stacy relative to her updates and the internal financial reports?
They say one on the tech budget. Would you describe this as kind of like, would it be a good way to say like, is it the, planning budget? The reason I ask it, because obviously you go
I'm
forward.
gonna let you get away with this just on that question, but we'll get the budget in a few minutes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that was with this.
Sure. You're the chairman, whatever you say.
Only because that's keep it.
Okay, I didn't know if that was under this. Okay.
Sorry about that, Mayor. Any additional questions or comments? Moving onward to loan activity reports. Any questions for Natalie?
Just at what point do we move to litigation on Antonio's? Because we just keep reporting that it's another 30 days past
Well,
due.
we did just get new contact
We did,
information,
yep.
so which we were hoping.
We're drafting. Within 30 days.
Perfect.
So the next time we're together, we will have filed those papers probably, Jeff.
Not that seeing litigation instead of 180 days will mean anything, but it'll show movement.
If it divides by 30
Whatever it takes.
You'll have that gelato cart before you know it.
Okay, moving on to new business. Item number 6, resolution accepting final scoping document for generic environmental impact statement pursuant to seeker. Stacy.
So this is a required step, per New York State guidelines for the State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA. As you recall, we had, the board had approved a draft scoping document, for the preparation of a generic environmental impact statement for the proposed Broome Technology Park. We issued that draft document. We held the public hearing on September 10th, and we did our 30-day public comment period. We did receive public comments. We also received public comments from the town of Maine, which we have incorporated some of their comments into this final document. And all of those public comments are available at broometechpark.com. We have posted all of the public comments for full transparency on that website, so anyone has access to those public comments. We've incorporated, we've updated as relevant any additional comments in this document. So the next steps are for the board to accept the final scoping document, which will lead us to completing a number of our studies, leading up to the final, the draft generic environmental impact statement, later in the year. So really more of just a procedural item that we need to do in order to complete our studies.
Is there a
Due
motion?
diligence.
There is now.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? Thank you, Elaine. Any discussion or questions for Stacy? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Item number 7, resolution approving the extension of the sales and use tax exemption letter, 333 Grand Avenue LLC from October 18th, 2024 through and including October 18th, 2026, the total amount which shall not exceed $955,000. Mayor?
Yeah, the governance committee moves it forward as a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second? Thank you, Joe. Any discussion?
Yeah, I see they hung up now on the phone. They were on for the governance committee meeting, but I want to bring it up in front of the full board. The notice that they sent out for requests for bids or whatever, frankly, was rubbish. It didn't have an eligible name, didn't have no contact information. You couldn't even, the signature was just a scribble on a page. It was garbage. And I don't know if they've chosen their subject, but it was a poor, very poor attempt to use local labor, and we'll see. I know Gorick is on site over there, so there's local operators over there doing site work, but from there on, I don't know where it's gonna go, but
Did you raise that on the call, Dan?
no, I did not, because there was limited people here. And I thought they'd stay on for the full board meeting, but I brought it up to Natalie and
And I did request a new letter.
they haven't sent anything out. I haven't seen anything.
yet.
No, we have
It
not, and
was-
we are working with them on compliance for our local labor policy related to the project. So,
This approval's not a waiver of a local labor content.
no, this is
It's
just
all
for sales and
related
use
to-
tax, but I think you just wanted to get this on the record for today.
And Stacy,
It
As the
was-
project continues to work towards closing.
have you spoken with Larry or
Uh,
Ray? I know Natalie has
yes.
attempted to her.
I have a call with Larry, not Gabe, but Larry Regan, to just make sure that they recognize that since the last project they've done in the county, our labor policy has been changed. I make sure they're aware of it.
I noticed one of the, in the application, that they're supposed to um, go with Dodge and Brad Walters at the Builders Exchange. And I don't know if that is actually they should put out a request for bid with them, just to send them an email, to me, doesn't give a chance to local labor.
So right now, I think the way our policy reads, they're required to notice those, but not required to provide bid documents to them. So that would be a modification to our policy, but we do not issue our sales tax agreement, which until we've received documentation that all required entities have been noticed. If we want to amend or modify that, we certainly have the ability to do that.
The other required people on the notice are all union trades.
Mhm.
The ones that go out to Brad and to Dodge would give all construction workers or construction companies a chance to bid it that are in the local area.
So is what they're sending to the union trades different than what I just want to make sure
No,
I'm
but it's,
understanding.
but it's like when they send it to a notice out, well, that one from Regan was, like I said, rubbish. But when they send it out, it's not really a request for bid, it's
So you
just a
wanna-
notification.
Okay, so that would be, yeah,
so
which
when
has
you-
been the requirement.
So when the
Thus
building
far.
trades gets it, the different trades
Sure.
will contact their signatory contractors. But the non-signatory trades that are in the area that have people that would like to feed their families on these projects don't get a choice because that request for bid isn't formally put out,
Okay.
through Dodge or through
Okay,
the Village Exchange, and that would really give, and that's the intent of the local labor language. It's not just for unions, it's for every construction worker in the county and the contiguous counties that would like to feed their family by their chosen profession of being a tradesman, and that's,
So they didn't do it through Dodge?
well, it says they notify Dodge, but they don't
it
actually.
doesn't require a
They
bid
don't put-
document.
right.
I
to
wonder
be
if we could,
provided.
can we require it? We should require that.
It'd
Part of our
be
policy.
part of our
That's
Be a
policy.
policy
Yeah.
change. It would
Yeah.
just be amendment to our labor.
Policy.
policy.
But that would ensure that all
Yeah.
people, doesn't matter if my signatories don't wanna bid it, well, so be it, but everybody should be
Right,
getting
I mean,
a chance.
inherently, the local labor policy's goal is to ensure that everyone in the catchment region has the opportunity, has the same access
Right,
at bidding.
and
as-
by just a notice to Brad Walters at the Builders Exchange, he gets a notice, but That's the end of it. He has nothing to do with it. If they actually put out a request for bid on the builders exchange, that's how construction people look at jobs.
Find
That
work,
they come on the Dodge or they come in
Yeah.
Construct Connect or.
Yeah, we can require that, huh?
So can we
Right,
take that
that's-
up
I
at the
mean,
next
Bill knows
governance
that's-
committee
sure, that's
meeting?
what you guys do.
Change the policy.
About this project than any other.
Yeah, and I think that would be fair to everybody. Right? You're an estimator, so.
We didn't require bids on the notification. Our,
Right.
as long as I've been here, our policy has only been to
That was for
notice,
the
not
country
to
town.
provide
I'm talking
any.
about
Yeah.
333
So we
grand.
can amend that.
Yeah.
We just have
We
to
can.
amend that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're out of Westchester.
Dan, didn't we just amend that policy a little bit for like the variance? Was that the same policy we worked on?
Well, we modified slightly,
Yeah,
but we
that
didn't
waiver
add
policy,
this.
That was more the waiver process, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was more related to
So can we bring
waivers.
this to governance, Mr. Chairman?
I would like it to go to governance next
Yep.
month.
And then we can bring these things into it
You and.
We're on it.
All right, we're gonna, we'll work with you on
Issues with
language.
the-
and make recommendations.
The problems come up and this is how you address them.
Yeah.
That notice from Regan.
Okay, I will do that. That's.
Then I will follow up with Larry, yeah, again.
So we have, are there any other questions or comments? Thanks,
I
Dan.
don't think you
Good
did.
comments. We have a motion and a second. Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm abstaining from that. Item number 8, resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the acquisition, renovation, and equipping of property located at 435 Main Street and 435 Main Street rear in the Village of Johnson City, Broome County, New York, to be used as an apartment building with a resident lounge and gymnasium, as well as commercial or office space with additional parking spaces, and appointing the Lane Group of New York LLC, a New York limited liability company, the company agent of the agency, for the purpose of acquiring, renovating, and equipping the project to provide for a sales and use tax exemption benefit in an amount not to exceed $560,000, to provide for a mortgage recording tax exemption benefit in an amount not to exceed $160,500, to provide for a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $3,131,208, including authorizing a payment in lieu of tax agreement and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto. Mayor,
Governance moves it forward as a motion to approve.
is there a second? Jim, thank you. Any discussion or explanation? I walked in on the middle of a discussion. The only question I would ask, and Mark, I caught you in the middle of, I think, a paragraph. Having heard the news in the last day, what is being done to address the current tenants or occupants, if you will? Well, they're no longer occupants, I guess, but,
Don't Martin's not chiming in, so he's having difficulty. So the day of the meeting, it comes to city at 8,
Public
right?
hearing.
And the mayor was there as well. Natalie was in the presentation, and then the press was there during the meeting, so I did a nice little thing after, thanking everybody. And the mayor wanted to catch up with me, I wanted to catch up with him. As you know, we don't control the building as of yet, we have a purchase option agreement that we plan to exercise within the next 30 to 45 days. So, but we do care about what happens to that asset while we're in this period. So Gene McKilligan had contacted me earlier that day, let me know that there was a situation that occurred. Apparent break-in, where somebody took a sledgehammer to one of the electrical panels that serves 50% of the building. They took it out. And it looked like they were attempting to get the copper wire off the scrap. And that's the general motive on most of the buildings, getting scrap and taking it to the whole scrap. So power's down to half the building. We were concerned. I said I would take that to the mayor and say, can we have more patrols? But he was there to see me about this very issue. Because apparently when this occurred, code enforcement, the fire department, and the police department, who have had some calls over there, he had concerns about the well-being of the building and the safety of the individuals in it. So when we discovered the power went out, which takes out life safety, as you know, heat and what's gonna happen with the sprinkler system, if anything freezes, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a condemnation. I want to differentiate that, I guess, from what I understand. But that day, he said, look, we're gonna have to do something about this to protect the safety. And I said, no, I understand, we are close to close. Because I don't wanna skew that, I don't wanna hamper your ability to do that. But I can't allow people in the building under the current circumstances with the code violations that are there. I said, well, that's a difficult position for us, but we're willing to assist. I told Gene, we have gone over repeatedly over the past several months fixing roof leaks. We don't want any damage when we take it over, it's just gonna increase our construction costs. So we have a vested interest in it. So we met, we decided to meet the next day with the fire department, the code enforcement, the police department, the owner, Dean and Charlie. And come up with a plan to say, how can we keep this going? And so we agreed to secure the building on their behalf, spending it on our dime, which is fine. And have a plan with the tenants that are in there. My understanding, and the last time I did the due diligence on all the leases, they're 30-day leases. For the termination. limits.
I've spoken to most of them.
Yes, so they're aware of that, they were aware of that. Our intentions were, and I think Gene was gonna give termination notices 30 days. 30 or 60 days prior to closing, so when we got the building, it was empty. Right? We do want to accommodate some of the leases if we can, but you know, in construction, when we get in there, we're gonna be ripping everything apart to work around everybody. And now with the added gymnasium section being spoken for now with the commercial lease, we don't have that flex to accommodate tenants to go in there temporarily while they leave the home. We have about 2,000 to 3,000 feet. We'd be willing to talk to several of them to say, look, and work with whoever, the chamber, the IDA, the city, to say, look, if we can accommodate them on a short-term basis until they find a new home, fine. But right now, the village is taking uninhabited stance. So we brought Schuler Haas, and they couldn't react fast enough, but we went over and we're assessing the service to get it back on. And secure it, so the tenants can go back in and get their belongings and everything on this 30-day termination. Legally, we have Lillian Levy addressing this with their attorney, it used to be Scott Kurkowski, I don't know who represents them now. Because he went to HH&K, but they're working together on getting these lease terminations out, it's not our responsibility, and we don't wanna really get into that, but we're
doing it.
but we're assisting in a safety for the people, the tenants to get their belongings out. So I don't know what more we can do, and the mayor can speak to this more if you'd like. But we're trying to accommodate, be good citizens and protect everybody that's involved. But there have been some repeated break-ins or attempts because they keep cutting the locks and keep trying to penetrate the building. That's not good for anybody, even the tenants.
Thank you, Mark.
Securing the building right now is our priority.
And I apologize, I guess, when this all went down Thursday, we had this meeting, I probably, you don't own the buildings. I probably should make a call to let you all know what's going on, rather than getting into the press with a Twitter emblem of condemnation or whatever that said, I don't know, and then everybody runs crazy. But the village has been very cooperative as far as being patient and working. It's working with the current owner and us. So we are also getting, we just got a number, we went out to 3 security places, and we didn't know the village offered this system. That we have a police officer there, and Conan was just over there today, from 10:30 to 6 in the morning to prevent people getting in the building. Whoever's in there in the city. So that's on our dime again, but it's money well spent, I think.
Thank you.
You've taken the high road, well done.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We live here, we keep one away from it, and we don't want that.
And we don't have anyone damaging, hurting themselves or damaging the building.
And we have to bring it back to some form of code to temporary electric and everything to do the construction. So it's gotta be habitable for us to plan to do our things. That's why it's not best.
So this came through the motion, Mayor,
Yeah, so motion to approve from governance.
and there was a second. Thank you, Jim. Is there any further discussion or questions? Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
Thank you, Peter. Motion carried. Item number 9, resolution approving an extension of the October 18th, 2023 sales and use tax exemption agreement with Crawley Factory Lofts LLC from October 18th, 2023 through and including October 18th, 2025, total of which shall not exceed $301,114. Mayor,
Governance moves it forward as a motion to approve.
thank you. Is there a second?
Right?
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion or question? I have a question if I may. What is the status of financing on this project?
It is my understanding they've not secured permanent financing right now. They are dealing with an issue related to construction costs, issuing a new bid. Because there was quite a delta between their initial and their what they received in construction costs. So I don't believe they have permanent financing at this point in time.
Is there, are they close? Is it in the next
Sounds like they're
60
rebidding.
days, 6 months?
I said by rebidding for a general contractor, right?
So by the end of the year, then.
Delta is significant, so I don't know. I don't.
Is this premature? So, I mean, there's a motion and a second on the floor. I suppose we wait for another 60, 90 days to see where this thing stands.
No harm in doing so, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't kick in until they, I think the philosophy in governments, but I think that's a good point. It doesn't kick in until they actually start doing something. So they're not gonna be starting construction in 60, 90 days. That'd be great if they were, so I don't think we,
So they probably need another extension once they start construction.
So, I mean,
Better to take.
I think you can tell them, you know, we're open to it. It's just a matter of,
Demonstration of
it's
finance.
just a matter of.
this for part of the financing. Yeah,
No, it's just a sales tax exemption. It's more when they start actually construction.
but I understand if they don't have that going into financing, then we're gonna be, somebody's gonna be reluctant to give them the financing because we didn't approve it.
I don't think sales tax exemption would necessarily.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, 300,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's not anything to us.
Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? What can you do, Peter?
That's fine. Half a dozen of them.
We'll be visiting this again. Item number 10, resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the acquisition, rehabilitation, preservation, and equipping of 22 three-story brick garden style apartment buildings located at 380 Shenango Street and 13 Pern Street in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, to be used as an affordable housing complex in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, including 66 one-bedroom apartments, 169 two-bedroom apartments, 21 three-bedroom apartments, and 296 parking spaces. Appointing VV Binghamton LLC or an entity to be later named the company agent of the agency for the purpose of acquiring, rehabilitating, preserving, and equipping the project and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including a payment in lieu of tax agreement, deviating from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, a sales and use tax exemption agreement in an amount not to exceed $3,256,604, a mortgage tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $541,077, and a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $10,842,402. Mayor.
Governance moves it forward as a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second? Thank you, Elaine. Any discussion? We've looked at this for quite some time. It's, as we recall, it changed hands, et cetera, et cetera. Any questions for Stacy or further questions for Stacy? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carried. Thank you all. Resolution approving the 2025 agency operational budget. Mr. Treasurer.
Yes, this does come forward as a motion that you approve.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
We do have modifications per the audit and finance
Yeah.
committee.
Would you
Yeah,
mind going through
So,
those, please?
so the audit and finance committee met on Friday, the 11th. As a result, we do have some updates to the IDA budget. That is mostly related to item C, other income, investment income. As you see for year to date, we budgeted $110,000. Year to date, we're at $323,807. We did go back and speak with NBT Bank about what they project, assuming there's very slight rate changes. So our yield would remain relatively stable. They projected 303,000, so we have added that for 2025. So that's an increase of $193,000 in other income. I will note, should we find any reason we need to pull out of reserve when we get to Tech Park discussions, that yield obviously would come down, but we're not anticipating that at this point in time. Other items, I'm thinking of I don't think there were any changes to the IDA budget other than that, increasing that income line.
Okay, so it comes forward as a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion or further questions on this budget? Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nobody can abstain from this, right? Okay, during that budget session, the question came up and the request was made that the Tech Park budget be kind of laid out so that we can all appreciate what kind of money we have planned and where money is coming from, et cetera.
So I'm happy to walk you through this. And on the income side, and Natalie, myself and Teresa have been tracking this on a regular basis, including cash flow from when we expect certain expense items to hit. But where we are as of today, or as of 9:30, I should say, at the end of September, our income is $3 million. That is the sale proceeds that was allocated several years back from the 265 Industrial Park Drive that we had at that time, I think wisely allocated to researching the potential development park. $500,000 came from a FAST award from New York State. That's considered a pre-development grant. So that leaves our income for this phase. And Mayor, I think you were going to ask the question. I would say this is the phase one budget,
That's okay.
certainly. Yeah. For really the concept development and design ultimately leaves us with income at $3.5 million. As you can see where we are at, we do have proposals, fee proposals for certain disciplines, planning and design. Legal is always a moving target because we need them in on virtually most all of our calls related to this. At this point, our land and purchase thus far, we've expended $140,000 towards our land and purchase option payments. And then as you see, public relations, miscellaneous and additional fees. So it leaves our total expense line thus far at 1.2 million, leaving a balance currently of $2.3 million, roughly. What will impact this is when we are actually closing. Joe is working on closing documents for the landowners that we currently have under contract, which is the Della Penna, Saraceno, and Comfort. So that will be potentially when there is a gap essentially in the budget. There are some things that are unplanned for, such as we've decided to take the step of doing a New York State Independent System Operator capacity study for energy. You know, that was an unanticipated cost, but I think something that's very important that we do. That roughly can run between $150,000 for the actual study to when you add consultants that know how to do these for us, you know, you're adding. So there's a lot of costs that we didn't necessarily know initially.
Stacy, that
Yeah.
can be used for a lot of good things, not
Yes,
just this.
right,
project.
that-
So
right,
yeah, that's a good
exactly.
investment.
That is a good, so, I will note, we are working, Amy's working on the process of being reimbursed. So, it's important to note our FAST award is reimbursable. So we've already spent that money. So we are getting that $500,000 back, you know, but towards those expenses. We are in conversations, I can't say with 100% certainty, we have approached Empire State Development for the idea of doing a second FAST pre-development award application, just it's a new program, so we've offered some feedback that we thought the pre-development award was maybe small for a project of this size. They may want to look at building that up for future awardees. So we are in conversations about the potential application for a second award, second grant award, which would help cover the cost of things like that independent system operator study and other things that we weren't anticipating. So that's sort of a snapshot of where we are today. Happy
much
to
is the
answer any
FAST grant?
question. 500,000, and that's
Oh,
the
that's
state,
all.
that's the, yeah, so FAST has a few tracks and we're considered pre-development, so. Now at the time that we have this concept designed and need to start building, they have another track that we would apply for actual funds to
Oh.
build.
For the $11 million.
For the 11, yeah, the 11 million is it, that we got for 600 Main is an example of a different
And
track.
what would you be able to use that for?
Ideally, we would want to go back for cost to help build out the site, assuming we get all necessary approvals. But yeah, so this was a state set amount. We didn't, ESD set this amount of what they considered pre-development awards. We're kind of, encouraging them to increase that because we've not taken on a project of this magnitude ourselves, so we're realizing all the costs involved in it. So,
So
we think
during the seeker review, I know that there will be a a review of alternatives for example, waste disposal or getting water there or whatever. And they'll recommend a preferred action.
Mhm.
Is that gonna include the engineering to actually do any of that, or is that gonna be another cost then down the road?
That would probably be a development cost.
So there'll be a lot of those things,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm. It'll be an expensive project. to
Is
build.
now the is the seeker being funded out of this?
Yes,
But is
so
that?
all of the planning design, all of these costs are essentially associated with what we're doing now.
Yeah,
The
but
seeker and the
was the seeker, I mean,
GIS.
has the seeker expense been taken out of this? I mean, has seeker been covered and we still have a balance?
Yes.
So the
yes.
seeker cost is all covered in this current budget. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why you see differential planning and design, so total of 809,000 roughly, but only 540,000 roughly is eligible for FAST. That's a timing, so we did some of that work before we were awarded the grant. So we can only get retroactive payments based on the date of the award. So anything before that was just out of pocket expense.
Right. Yeah, but that's my initial question, which you answered was I was looking at trying to find what the term for this, the best term for this is a pre-development budget.
Yes. Mhm.
I was gonna say phase one or site
Yeah,
preparation.
and we can
I
add
can
that
add
to
that,
it, yeah,
Well, yeah,
but
but
yes,
that's your
yeah.
term. The other thing is then we have to do a actual development budget though.
Yes,
And that's
yeah.
still, was that still in the planning phase right now?
That probably, we won't be ready to do that till after we've complete all of the
Okay.
GIX and
Yeah,
design.
so
work.
that's gonna be the
Yeah.
really large budget,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be the development
Mhm.
budget.
Well, we are working on a current timeline for what we know, the acquisition of the properties and that cash
Yes.
flow. I think you said you're gonna,
Yes,
working a
I
cash
can,
flow
I can
report that
update the
shows over
cash
time.
flow.
You
I'll
had an
update the
initial,
cash flow,
correct?
yeah, I'll update that and email that to the board, based on when we expect to close, because that will certainly be a large amount of funds, when we actually do, close and purchase those properties.
And
Those are
what's
still-
gonna be the cost of that, the acquisition and closing costs? What would that
Oh
be?
boy, off the top of my head, I want to say it will be just
2.274.
shy of 2 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And you'll send us, or in future packages, you'll just give.
Yeah,
us
I'll just
updates.
include this on the monthly financials. Yeah, moving forward. Happy to.
Excellent. Any old business we need to discuss? Or unfinished, I should say, any new business that we've missed? Looking for a motion to adjourn, Dan. Thank you. Second over on this, Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
And then we just have to do the budget for